Captain Nira's fox-like ears pressed back against her head as another blast shook the war-torn plane. Her sunset orange fur bristled, tail lashing, as she raised a composite shield to deflect searing plasma fire. Around her, the elite Vulpine squad faltered. Something was wrong. "Hold the line!" she barked, amber eyes narrowing as her dark hair whipped in the wind. The shriek of artillery split the air, charred dirt and blue-white plasma scattered over the battered trenchworks. Her second-in-command, Lyris, stumbled past her with a bleeding gash above his brow. "Captain, they're everywhere!" he yelled, voice ragged with disbelief. "They are not everywhere," she snapped, forcing calm into her tone. "They are just too close." Her grip tightened on the arc blade, its charged edge humming in her fist. The squad behind her wavered, eyes flicking nervously to the rear as a fresh volley hissed overhead. Nira's comm crackled, a burst of static, then a frantic voice. "Eastern flank breached, rear guard in disarray." She spun, heart plunging. The rear guard? That was impossible. "Lyris, check the rear." Before the order finished, two armored figures lunged from behind, insignias unmistakably her own. Their rifles leveled at her. Nira moved on instinct, shield angling to intercept the first bolt, blade arcing to slice the weapon from the second traitor's hands. Sparks flew, metal clanged, and in 3 rapid heartbeats, both would-be assassins fell. Disbelief gnawed at her as she stared at the familiar faces, the glint of the squad's crest still shining on their shoulders. "They're ours!" Lyris choked. "Why?" "Get back!" Nira shouted, voice edged with panic as she shoved him aside, sweeping her blade in a defensive circle. "Hold your positions! No one breaks formation unless I order it!" Miles away, in a fortified outpost ringed by energy fences and battered sandbags, Marcus Hale hunched over a flickering holomap. Human, lean and sharp-eyed, he swept a hand over the digital terrain, watching as friendly icons flickered, then pulsed red. His mind raced through probabilities, battle doctrines, and the chilling certainty of betrayal. "Captain, you're being surrounded. Pull back now. Your own units are closing in," he said into his comm, voice low but urgent. On the ruined plain, Nira heard him through the stutter of static and the whine of plasma bolts. Her ears flicked back. "You're sure?" she demanded, risking a glance at her wrist display. The signals all aligned. Her own rear guard was advancing, weapons hot. Friendly fire zipped past her, scorching the ground at her feet. She ducked behind the battered hull of a downed skimmer as the comm sizzled with interference. Her mind raced. General Voss. Only he had the command codes to turn her own men against her. A bitter laugh caught in her throat. "Marcus, Voss has ordered my elimination." Confirmed. Back in the outpost, Marcus's fingers flew over the command console, trying to override the lockdown. Suddenly, his access vanished. The screen blinked. 3 Cernan troopers, faces concealed by tinted visors, rifles raised, burst through the door. "Step away from the controls, human," one snarled. Marcus's gaze flicked to the emergency sidearm beneath the desk. He kicked the chair back, ducking a wild shot, and lunged. The gun came up, 2 quick shots. The first trooper dropped. The second swung a rifle butt. Marcus staggered, vision swimming, but fired point blank. The third charged, grappling him to the ground. They crashed into the holomap, sending blue-lit fragments tumbling. Marcus twisted, elbowed hard, and brought the sidearm up, ending the struggle. Breathing hard, he snatched a battered field pack and sprinted down the smoke-filled corridor. Sirens blared. He blasted a maintenance hatch and dropped into the access tunnels below, boots splashing in stagnant water as he ran for the surface. On the battlefield, Nira fought desperately, slicing through advancing soldiers, her own colors, her own kin. Each strike a fresh wound to her soul. Blood spattered her armor, the scent harsh in her nostrils. She whirled, deflected a bayonet, then felt the searing agony of a plasma bolt as it tore through her left side. She stumbled, breath knocked from her lungs, vision blurring as she crumpled to her knees. Her comm spat static. "North tunnel's clear." "I'm coming," Marcus's voice broke through, battered but alive. She gritted her teeth, clutching her wound. "No, stay put. That's an order," she gasped. But even as she spoke, she knew he would disobey. Marcus ignored the command, already piloting a battered skimmer through the chaos outside the outpost. The wind shrieked past the open canopy, tracer fire slashing the dusk. He swerved through burning wrecks and fleeing soldiers, searching the blood-soaked field until he spotted her, a flash of orange fur amid the carnage. The skimmer screeched to a halt, rear thrusters flaring. Nira staggered toward him, one hand pressed to her side, fending off a last desperate attacker with her blade. Marcus leapt from the cockpit, covering her retreat with a volley of blaster fire. He caught her as she faltered, hauling her into the co-pilot seat before vaulting back behind the controls. "Strap in," he snapped, voice tight. She slumped, blood dripping from between her fingers. The skimmer shot skyward, engines howling as Marcus banked hard, weaving between missile streaks and the deadly crossfire of ships above. The battered craft shuddered but held together, climbing into the storm-blackened clouds. "You ignored my order," Nira panted, forcing herself to stay conscious. Marcus's jaw was set, eyes on the horizon. "My job is to keep you alive. I did my job." Nira managed a thin, pained smile. "You could have run. Why stay?" He glanced at her, a flicker of something unreadable in his gaze. "I'd last a day alone here. Besides, your enemies just got predictable. They betrayed you. That's our opening." As darkness claimed her, Nira realized her only hope was the man whose planet she'd conquered, her human aide, Marcus. She clung to that one certainty as pain and exhaustion dragged her under. The roar of the skimmer's engines and Marcus's steady presence her final anchors to the world. Blood pooled on the floor of a derelict refinery. Faded warning lights cast uneven shadows on walls caked in rust and old oil. Nira's ears twitched, sharp against the silence, as Marcus knelt at her side, cleaning the charred plasma burn in her flank. She gripped a cracked metal pipe, teeth clenched. "You're getting better at this," she muttered, voice rasping but laced with reluctant amusement. Marcus didn't look up, his hands steady as he swabbed away the blood. "I've patched up plenty of your soldiers. Never you, though." He reached for a tube of healing gel, spreading the cold, stinging substance over her wound. Nira hissed, tail lashing the concrete, but she didn't pull away. "Hold still," he said, softer now, meeting her amber gaze for a fleeting heartbeat. "You want this to heal clean." She glanced away, focusing on the corroded ceiling girders above. The old refinery groaned as wind rattled through shattered windows, carrying the faint echoes of distant patrols and the ever-present scent of metal and ash. The wound hurt less than the shame. She was the captain, supposed to be untouchable, indomitable. Yet here she was, on her back, a human tending wounds she should have avoided. Marcus cut through the silence with practical efficiency. "Stitch is done. You'll need to rest, at least for a few hours." Rest. The word felt foreign. She forced herself upright, pushing aside his helping hand. "No time. They'll sweep the sector." "They think you're dead," he said quietly, as if that made a difference. "At least for now." Their eyes met again, and for the first time, Nira saw Marcus not as a subordinate or a conquered enemy, but as something closer to an equal. He moved with practiced care, gathering his medkit and tools. The refinery, once the heart of industrial Veyron, was their sanctuary now, held together by shadows and luck. She wrapped her arm around her side, watching him prepare a ration pack. "You're calm for someone hunted by an entire army." "I got used to it," Marcus replied, his voice dry. "Besides, we're not alone. Voss's men are everywhere, but they're looking for a corpse, not a captain with a stubborn streak." Nira's fur bristled. "Voss betrayed me. My own commanders." Marcus nodded. He unspooled a battered datapad from his kit and handed it to her. "Intercepted these before they cut my access. The message is clear. They think your trust in humans is weakness, that it compromised command integrity. She scanned the lines of coded text, her jaw tightening with each word. The sting was sharper than any wound. So, my mistake was believing we could be more than conquerors and conquered. They want a war machine, not a leader, Marcus said, folding his arms. You offered them something else. It scared them. An alarm blared, shrill and jarring. Red lights spun over the shattered entryway. Marcus moved instantly, hand going to his sidearm as he peered out the window slats. Patrols, east entrance. Nira reached for her blade, but Marcus caught her wrist. You'll tear your stitches. They think you're dead. Let's keep it that way. His voice was urgent, but there was a note of care beneath the command. I'm not hiding, she growled. We're not hiding. We're surviving. He pressed a finger to his lips, then led her toward the refinery's labyrinthine underbelly. Rusted catwalks creaked under their weight as they slipped into a half-collapsed maintenance tunnel. He paused at the threshold, producing a compact device from his kit. Hold still. He swept the scanner over her, masking her heat signature and muting her scent with a quick burst of chemical mist. She glared at him, but allowed it. Learn that from my side too? He smirked. I learned quickly. They moved, step by cautious step, deeper into the warren of tunnels. The refinery's old pipes and tanks became their cover. Voices echoed distantly, soldiers searching, boots thudding, orders barked in clipped vulpine. Nira's pride warred with her growing need for help. Every step was agony, but Marcus was patient, steady, never once pushing her faster than she could manage. In a dark alcove, they paused, breaths synchronized. Nira watched the flicker of patrol lights through a broken vent, her mind racing with humiliation and fury. Why was she letting Marcus lead? Why did it feel like relief? Marcus glanced at her, reading the question on her face. I know I'm not free, he said, voice low. I never will be, not really, but I serve you because you see me, not as property, as a person. Her ears flicked, uncertain. She had never spoken of such things with any underling, never needed to. Yet now, wounded and hunted, she understood the price of trust. In the dim light, she reached for his hand, awkward at first, then resolute. I need you, Marcus, she said quietly, voice stripped of rank and armor. Not just as an aide, as my strategist. He squeezed her hand, a silent vow. Together they melted into the shadows, slipping past the last searchers as the hunt for Nira began in earnest. Sirens faded behind them, replaced by the hum of distant engines and the whisper of hope. Days blurred as they crossed the ochre plains of Veyron. The land was scarred, valleys burnt and ridges crawling with watchtowers, but Nira pressed on, jaw set and eyes bright despite the pain. Marcus moved at her side, ever watchful, supporting her when she faltered, urging her to rest when she could not. They skirted patrols, always moving at night, guided by the stars and Marcus's stolen maps. On the third night, they reached the border post, a squat bunker of ferrocrete and razor wire. It was deserted, the regime's forces drawn away by rumors of Nira's demise. Marcus wasted no time. He rummaged through the bunker's supply caches, his mind already working through options. With scavenged components, a transmitter, a battered decoy beacon, a handful of thermal flares, he assembled a device with nimble, grease-stained hands. Nira watched, a grudging respect in her gaze. You're more than a tactician. He glanced up, a rare smile ghosting his lips. Survivor, too, just like you. He activated the beacon. Instantly, it broadcast a false heat signature, simulating their presence miles away. Patrols veered off course, following the Phantom while Marcus and Nira slipped quietly across the border. By the time the beacon's battery died, they were well on their way to Crossroads Station, a sprawling, chaotic hub where species from every quadrant mingled in shadowed corridors and neon-lit bazaars. Nira kept her hood low, blending into crowds of traders, refugees, and mercenaries. Marcus led the way, guiding her through the maze of alleys with practiced ease. Here, his old contacts became their lifeline, smugglers who owed him debts, fixers with no love for the regime, information brokers who traded secrets for favors. At a smoky stall, Marcus traded an encrypted chip for new identity tags and safehouse coordinates. In a grimy backroom, he bartered with a feline courier for clean rations and medical supplies. Nira observed, impressed by his deft negotiation, the way he navigated danger with calm precision. One night, as they waited in a crowded cantina for the next transport, Nira caught Marcus studying a battered holomap, eyes darting over escape routes and regime checkpoints. "You're not like them," she murmured, watching his reflection in the rain-streaked window. "You don't run from trouble." He shrugged. "Running is for those with somewhere to go. I have you." The admission settled between them, fragile and raw. Nira's hand brushed his beneath the table, a silent promise. Through quick thinking and calculated risks, they stayed ahead of the regime's hunters. Marcus anticipated every move, every blockade, and Nira learned to trust his judgment, her life in his hands more than once. She protected him in turn, her blade flashing when threats drew too near, her mere presence enough to ward off lesser dangers. In the end, they became more than fugitives, they became partners, united by necessity and something deeper neither could yet name. Nira relied on Marcus's cunning, and he on her protection, each step drawing them closer together as the hunt pressed on, always one step behind. In the underbelly of Crossroads, shadows clung to every corner, the air thick with the electric buzz of illicit deals and shifting allegiances. Marcus guided Nira through narrow passages between vendors hawking contraband and mercenaries guarding smoky doorways. Neon signs flickered above their heads, casting brief halos of crimson and blue across Nira's dusk-furred face. She kept her hood drawn low, ears pressed flat, every sense straining for threat. Marcus paused at a graffiti-tagged hatch, checking the cipher lock with a practiced hand. "She'll be here," he murmured. "If anyone can help us, it's Jessa." The door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Inside, the air was cooler, thick with the scent of ozone and old data cables. Jessa waited, perched atop a battered terminal, boots swinging over the edge. Her eyes, sharp and metallic green, softened when she saw Marcus. "Didn't expect to see you alive," she said, her grin lopsided. "Or at all, for that matter." "Jessa," Marcus stepped in, relief and tension in his shoulders. "You still owe me for that prison ship on Eris." Jessa laughed, the sound brittle. "One day I'll repay you with something simple, like a drink. But today's not that day." She flicked her gaze to Nira. "And this must be the infamous captain." Nira straightened, chin lifted. "I am Nira of House Valarn. I need information." Jessa's smirk faded, replaced by something graver. She reached behind her, tossing Marcus a memory shard. "You need more than information. You need the truth. You're not just hunted. You've been gutted from the inside. The order for your execution didn't come from Voss. It came from your own blood." Nira's ears twitched, confusion and dread flickering in her eyes. "My blood?" Jessa nodded, face shadowed. "Your sister, Lyra. She's been dealing with the Terran Combine for months. She promised them territory, human settlements, in exchange for support. Support to take the throne. The plot to kill you was hers. Voss was only the blade." A brittle silence followed. Nira's hands curled into fists, claws pricking her palms. "That cannot be. Lyra would never—" "She did," Jessa said quietly. "I intercepted messages myself. The Combine wants a war. Lyra will give it to them, and she'll burn your allies to do it." Marcus rested his hand on Nira's shoulder. The gesture was gentle, steadying. Days ago, it would have been unthinkable. Intimacy, comfort, shared pain. But now it passed between them with a quiet intensity. a promise unspoken. She didn't shake him off. Instead, she drew strength from his touch, the anger in her heart settling into resolve. I am sorry, Nira, Marcus said softly, but we have to face what's coming. Together. Jessa nodded, a flicker of approval in her gaze. You still have friends, Captain, but you'll have to move fast. A metallic crash echoed from the corridor. Jessa's head snapped up, eyes narrowing. Regime strike team. They must have tracked your entry. Without a word, Marcus grabbed Nira's hand, pulling her toward a concealed service hatch. Jessa snatched up her gear and followed, the three moving in a silent, practiced line. Bolts of plasma fire scorched the passage behind them as they raced through a maze of ducts and broken machinery. They emerged in an abandoned storeroom. As Nira caught her breath, a voice crackled over her comm, familiar, raw, and desperate. Captain, Nira, it's Rin. Are you alive? Nira's eyes widened. Rin? Where are you? The battered door rattled. A figure slipped through. Rin, a member of Nira's guard, thought lost in the chaos of betrayal. He was gaunt, bloodied, but his eyes blazed with purpose. I saw you fall, Nira breathed, stunned. Barely escaped, Rin replied, voice hoarse. But there's no time. Lyra's coronation is in 2 days. They're unveiling a bioweapon, engineered from human captives. She plans to erase every human outpost in her path. The words hung in the air, horror settling like ice. Marcus's jaw clenched. A bioweapon, using my people as fodder. Rin nodded, anguish etched deep. They're ready to deploy it at the ceremony. If Lyra ascends, there's nothing left for humans. Or for you, Captain. Nira's pride warred with grief and fury. My own kin, betraying all we fought for. Marcus met her gaze, fire in his eyes. We don't have time to mourn. We act, or we lose everything. Jessa drew her sidearm, flicking the safety. I can get you credentials for a regime shuttle. It's our only way past the blockades. Together, the four slipped through the hidden arteries of Crossroads Station. Jessa's contacts fed them scraps of timing and patrol patterns. Marcus hacked a side entrance to the shuttle hangars, disabling cameras with a flick of his wrist. In the shadowed docking bay, Rin signaled the all-clear. Marcus climbed into the cockpit, his fingers moving over the unfamiliar Cernan controls with surprising confidence. Nira slid into the co-pilot seat, watching him recalibrate the systems. You know their tech? Marcus offered a grim smile. Years of servitude, I learned a few tricks. He bypassed the security lock, faked their clearance codes, and powered up the engines. The shuttle lifted, slipping into the crowded lanes of departing ships, undetected. As they sped beyond the station's orbit, Nira glanced at Marcus, admiration in her voice. You're not just a strategist, you're a survivor. Marcus kept his eyes on the flight path, but a ghost of a smile touched his lips. You taught me survival. I just adapted. In the cramped hold, the group gathered around a projected map. Marcus's mind was already at work, weaving tactics and misdirection. We can't fight them head-on, he said. We need to save the human enclaves, hit and run, sabotage their supply lines, make them think the resistance is bigger than it is. Nira nodded. Guerrilla tactics, Cernan force but used with precision. We'll make them bleed for every step. Rin set his jaw. I know where they're moving the bioweapon. We can intercept it before the coronation. Jessa added, and I can get you inside the palace, servant's route. It's old, but it still connects to the upper halls. For the first time, hope flickered. They had a plan. They had each other. Later, as the shuttle coasted in the black between worlds, Marcus approached a captured regime officer bound in the storage hold. The officer sneered, defiant, but Marcus knelt before him, voice calm and respectful. I know what you think of humans, Marcus began, his tone low. But I also know you value honor. Tell me, What does Lyra plan for the Combine after the coronation? The officer spat, but Marcus persisted, using certain phrases and subtle cultural gestures. He spoke of loyalty, of family, of the shame of betrayal. Gradually, the officer's resistance cracked. He revealed hidden codes, the schedule for the weapons transfer, even the names of Lyra's co-conspirators. When Marcus returned to the cockpit, Nira regarded him with new eyes. "You broke him without breaking him," she said quietly. "Violence makes enemies," Marcus replied. "But respect, sometimes it opens doors." Their gazes lingered, unspoken understanding passing between them. The lines dividing them, conqueror and conquered, captain and aide, blurred, replaced by something deeper. Together they pored over the intelligence Marcus had gathered through years of forced service. Old maps, passwords, hidden passageways, known only to the palace's invisible class. Nira realized with a jolt how much she had overlooked, how much Marcus had learned simply by surviving. "We'll infiltrate the coronation," she said at last, conviction returning to her voice. "Expose Lyra's treachery, and save what's left of your people." Marcus nodded. "We'll do it together." Outside, the stars blurred past the shuttle, the future rushing toward them. And for the first time since the betrayal, Nira felt the stirrings of hope, not just for victory, but for redemption, and for the bond forming between herself and the man she once called enemy. A fierce electrical storm battered the relay station, lightning forking across the sky in jagged violet bursts. The battered regime shuttle shuddered as Marcus guided it into the shadow of the abandoned comms array. Rain hammered the hull, drowning out even the rumble of distant artillery. Nira's ears twitched at each new thunderclap, her sunset orange fur standing on end, the storm's fury echoing her own restless energy. Marcus was the first to step out, boots splashing through rain-soaked debris as he sprinted for the security panel. He patched the override, fingers moving with tired precision, and yanked the battered doors open. "Inside now!" he called, waving Rin, Jessa, and Nira through. The group hustled past, ducking beneath sparking cables and shattered glass, their breaths frosting in the chill air. Once inside, Marcus slammed the doors and sealed them with a metal bar. "That should hold," he said, voice low. "Station's shields are down, but no one's getting through that mess outside." Jessa wiped water from her eyes, smirking. "You always pick the scenic spots, Marcus." Rin scouted the perimeter, rifle at the ready. "We're clear for now, power grids flickering, but the old terminals still work." Marcus nodded. "We'll use the downtime. I'll coordinate the evacuation routes for the outposts." He moved to the largest console, patching into the relay's surviving systems, sweat glistening on his brow as he called up maps, contacts, and encrypted channels. His voice was clipped, efficient, relaying coded instructions to scattered resistance cells, which routes to take, which safe houses to reach, how to vanish before the bioweapon could claim them. Nira stood nearby, arms folded, watching him work. The blue glow of the screens cast stark shadows across his face, accentuating the lines of exhaustion that had etched themselves deeper in recent days. He didn't notice her gaze, his focus absolute, but she saw the tremor in his hands, the way he pressed a palm to his temple as the strain built. "You need rest," she said, stepping closer, her tone gentler than command. Marcus smiled faintly, eyes crinkling at the corners. "Worried about me, Captain?" She let the title linger between them, but only for a heartbeat. "I need my strategist sharp," she replied, her voice losing the edge it once had. The word servant was gone, replaced by something warmer, more equal. He glanced at her, gratitude in his eyes. 5 minutes. Just let me finish the contacts." Lightning flickered, briefly illuminating the abandoned relay. The storm outside intensified, wind howling through cracks in the ferrocrete. Then, with a shuddering sigh, the power died. Screens blinked out, plunging the station into deep, bone-chilling darkness. Jessa cursed, fumbling for a glow stick. Rain checked the windows, muttering, "Temperature's dropping. We need to move, fast." Nira's instincts took over. "This room's too exposed. There's a maintenance closet, smaller, insulated. We'll wait out the storm there." Marcus nodded, fatigue plain in his posture. "Lead the way." They slipped through the dark, boots echoing on metal grates, until they found the cramped maintenance room near the station's core. It was barely large enough for two, but the thick walls trapped what little warmth remained. Jessa and Rin agreed to take shifts at the main doors, leaving Nira and Marcus alone. Inside, Nira shed her battered armor, wincing as she stretched aching muscles. The emergency lamp painted her fur in hues of gold and amber, accentuating the glowing markings along her arms and sides. She shivered, both from cold and the vulnerability of being exposed. Marcus shrugged off his wet jacket, draping it over her shoulders. "Here, you're still healing." She looked up, surprised by the gesture, then settled into the warmth. Their shoulders brushed, breath mingling in the tight space. For a moment, silence fell, a fragile truce with the world outside. Nira studied Marcus's face, the dark stubble shadowing his jaw, the worry lines etched around his eyes. His hands fidgeted restlessly in his lap, fingers marked by grease and old burns. She realized she'd memorized those hands, had come to rely on them more than any blade. He broke the quiet first, voice low. "Can I ask something?" Nira nodded, her eyes never leaving his. "You can." He hesitated, then spoke. "When did you stop seeing me as just property?" The question lingered in the close air. Nira blinked, searching for the answer among the memories of battlefields, late-night strategy sessions, and desperate escapes. "Maybe it started when you saved me in the trench," she admitted, voice raw. "Or maybe when I realized how many of our victories were yours as much as mine." He studied her, shadows flickering across his face. "Was your respect ever more than practical?" His tone was careful, as if stepping across a minefield. Nira met his gaze, unflinching. "I admire your mind, Marcus. Your stubbornness. The way you see through every lie, even mine." She paused, letting the words settle. "I thought strength meant leading, but you showed me it comes in many forms." He smiled, the smallest, saddest smile she'd seen on him. "I had to be strong. For you. For myself." Her hand found his, fingers threading through the calluses and scars. "You're not alone anymore." The storm raged on, wind rattling the relay's bones. But in the tiny room, a different current built between them. Marcus shifted closer, the warmth of his body radiating through the chill. Their faces were inches apart, breath mingling. Nira's tail curled around his waist, drawing him closer still. She whispered, "This shouldn't be possible. Not between us." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his voice trembling. "It is. We made it so." Their lips met, hesitant at first, then fierce, as if claiming new territory neither had known existed. The kiss shattered the old boundaries, conqueror and captive, human and alien. It was hungry, searching, threaded with all the fears and hopes they'd carried for so long. Nira's hand slid to Marcus's waist, finding the warmth beneath his shirt. His fingers traced the glowing patterns on her fur, marveling at the heat and the softness, the pulse beneath her skin. For the first time, she let her guard fall entirely, trusting him with every secret, every scar. They broke apart only when breath became a necessity, foreheads pressed together. Nira's voice trembled, half laughter and half wonder. "This changes everything." Marcus cupped her cheek, thumb brushing her jaw. "It already has," he whispered, pulling her close again. Outside, the storm howled, a world in chaos and fury. Inside, Marcus and Nira found a fragile moment of peace, wrapped in each other's arms as the future waited, uncertain but suddenly, impossibly, full of hope. The regime's communications array hung in orbit above the capital, a spidery halo of antennas and mirrored panels spinning against the pale light of the homeworld. Marcus, Nira, and Rin drifted closer in a stolen shuttle, their stolen credentials flickering across the control boards with every pass through security. One wrong code, one out-of-place signal, and the entire station would light up with alarms and plasma fire. But tonight, the codes held. Marcus steadied the shuttle's approach, voice tight with focus. Docking clamps ready. We have a 10-minute window before the next sweep. Once we're in, we move fast. Rin checked his gear, eyes flicking to Nira. We stay together. No heroics. Nira's ears twitched, her face set in hard lines. We do what we came for, she said, voice sure. Her gaze lingered on Marcus, something fierce and intimate in the look. He offered her a nod, understanding passing in silence. The airlock cycled open, letting them slip into the sterile corridors. The array's interior gleamed with the cold order of Cernan engineering. Security drones hovered near recessed doors, and digital banners scrolled regime propaganda in every language. But Marcus's forged tags gave them safe passage. They moved in perfect sync, Nira leading, blade at her side, Marcus following, data probe hidden in his sleeve, Rin covering the rear, eyes sharp for trouble. They reached the server core, a vaulted chamber alive with blue light and the hum of endless data streams. Marcus plugged into the central node, fingers dancing over alien glyphs. Upload the proof, Nira urged, standing guard at the hatch. Make the Empire see what my sister has done. Marcus nodded. I'll need 2 minutes. He slid the encrypted shard into the port, lines of code rippling across the holoscreens, routing it to every public and military channel. When this hits, there's no taking it back. Nira watched him work, pride blooming in her chest. In this moment, there was no captain and aide, no conqueror and conquered, only partners. Her tail brushed Marcus's calf, a wordless gesture of trust. She leaned close, voice low. No matter what happens, you are my mate now. The word carried the weight of promise, its old meaning transformed. He squeezed her hand, heart hammering. I know, and I'm with you. Until the end. A warning blinked. Security forces mobilizing, Rin warned, glancing at the surveillance feed. We have to move. Marcus finished the upload, then patched Nira into the live feed. She stepped into the center of the chamber, the camera's red eye blinking awake. Her image broadcast across the Empire, her survival revealed, her amber eyes burning with undimmed authority. This is Nira of House Villarn, she declared, voice ringing with command. Your captain lives. You have been lied to. I bear proof. My sister Lyra has conspired with the Tehran Combine. She traded away our kin for her own power. She ordered my death, but failed. Static crackled as her words echoed to every ship, every city, every barracks on 1,000 worlds. Loyalists, rally to me. There is redemption for those who return. Lay down arms against your own, and I will grant pardon. We fight not for vengeance, but for the soul of our people. Rin's hand hovered over his weapon. They're coming, Nira. Marcus keyed a command, launching the system's meltdown protocol. I'll fry the array on our way out. It'll cover our escape, scramble sensors for a good 15 minutes. Nira finished her broadcast, eyes never leaving the lens. For honor, for unity, stand with me. She cut the feed, stepping away as alarms erupted, red strobes igniting, klaxons shrieking through the deck. The trio raced through winding corridors, dodging security drones and armed patrols. Rain blasted a path with precision fire, doors fusing shut behind them. Nira's blade flashed in the dim light, felling 2 guards with swift, merciful strikes. Marcus lagged only to sabotage the mainframe, his fingers moving with practiced urgency. As they reached the docking bay, a squad of regime soldiers barred their path, plasma rifles raised. Nira stepped forward, fearless. "You saw the broadcast. You know the truth," she called, voice hard but pleading. "You have a choice." A tense silence. Then, one by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons, confusion and hope flickering across their faces. "For the captain!" one shouted, and turned to face the corridor behind them. Marcus ushered the team into the shuttle, sealing the hatch as the station shuddered with internal explosions. Outside, the stars were chaos. Regime ships had turned on each other, loyalists clashing with Lyra's hand-picked enforcers. The rebellion Marcus and Nira had kindled now raged across the fleet, declarations of loyalty bursting over comms. "Status?" Nira asked, breathless, as Marcus gunned the engines. "Resistance cells are mobilizing," he reported, scanning coded channels. "Your words reached them. Every outpost, every hidden cell, they're rising, and fleets are swearing fealty to you by the minute." Rin grinned, wiping sweat from his brow. "You did it, Captain. You turned the tide." Nira let herself breathe, pride and sorrow tangled in her heart. "We did it." All of us. The shuttle banked away from the burning comm array, slipping through the fractured blockade as ships traded fire in the void. Marcus navigated with a deft hand, rerouting power and cloaking their signal. All the while, messages poured in, captains pledging allegiance, old enemies offering support, human enclaves sending coded cheers. In the quiet between alerts, Nira turned to Marcus, her voice raw with emotion. "You made this possible. Without you—" He silenced her with a gentle squeeze of her hand. "You led them. I just lit the signal fire." Rin glanced back, a rare smile on his lips. "If we're going to finish this, we do it now. Lyra will move fast. She'll try to crown herself before your allies can reach her." Marcus checked the nav, confirming their course. "The capital is less than an hour away at full burn. No time for caution. We go in bold, make her show her hand." Nira nodded, resolve settling over her. "The next move is ours." As the battered shuttle streaked toward the capital, the future hung in the balance, empire and resistance poised on the edge of war. But for the first time, Nira and Marcus faced it together, not as master and servant, but as equals, partners, mates, and hope-bearers for a world reborn. The capital was locked down, every gate bristling with armed patrols and drones circling like carrion birds above the marble spires. Spotlights swept the avenues, casting nervous crowds in stark relief as the city held its breath for Lyra's coronation. But in the shadow of the grand procession, where nobles and generals filed through the gilded archways, Nira and Marcus slipped from their battered shuttle and strode straight toward the palace, unmasked, unhidden, daring fate to notice. Marcus's hand found Nira's as they reached the broad steps, his pulse steady beneath her grasp. "No one expects us to walk in the front door," he murmured, a wry smile ghosting his lips. "Obvious is invisible." Nira's tail flicked, both nerves and defiance. "Let's hope your plan is as clever as you are." As they passed the guards, faces veiled, eyes uncertain, no one challenged them. Whispers skittered through the ranks. Was that the lost captain? Hadn't she fallen? Surely not. Not here. Not now. Inside, the palace pulsed with tension. Cernan banners hung heavy from the vaulted ceilings, but the air was electric with the rumor of Nira's return. Loyalists, those Marcus had reached with secret codes, slipped among the courtiers, hands resting on hidden weapons, eyes waiting for the signal. Marcus keyed his comm, voice soft but urgent. "Phase 1, now." Across the palace, Nira's allies moved. A captain feigned a stumble near the main generator, palming a disruptor into the conduit. A servant in royal livery locked down the western wing. In the kitchens, a squad of resistance fighters disguised as staff took up positions. It was a dance of trust and precision, no longer Nira's command, but a partnership of equals, Cernan and human moving as one. Nira's footsteps rang on the polished floors as she strode through the central hall. Marcus was at her side, head high, unflinching as nobles shrank back or stared. They reached the throne room's great doors, where two of Lyra's elite blocked the way. One sneered, "You should be dead." Nira's amber gaze burned. "And yet, here I am." She swept past, Marcus matching her stride, the doors booming shut behind them. Inside, the throne room glittered with power. Lyra stood before the dais, clad in ceremonial armor, Tehran leader at her right. The room was crowded with high officers, Tehran envoys, and a scattering of human servants pressed to the shadows. Lyra's eyes widened for only a moment. Then she smiled, cold and sharp. "Sister, or perhaps I should say, traitor. You bring your human pet to the coronation?" Nira stepped forward, voice ringing clear. "I bring my mate, my strategist, and my equal. Is that what terrifies you, Lyra? That I learned to adapt while you clung to old hatreds?" Lyra laughed, the sound brittle. "You always mistook kindness for strength. You thought forging alliances with slaves would save us? I made us strong. The Tehran Combine," Marcus interrupted, his tone calm, cutting through the tension. "You made yourself a puppet. You sold out your own. The Empire sees you now." The Tehran leader hissed, his jeweled claws twitching. "This is no place for human defiance." Nira's ears flattened, her blade sliding free. "This is no place for those who would destroy my people." She raised her voice, addressing the court. "My sister betrayed us all, sold Cernan and human alike. But today, we end this cycle, not with more chains, but with something new." Lyra's snarl broke into rage. "Seize her!" But the loyalists moved first. Explosions shook the palace as the main generator blew, plunging the outer halls into chaos. Resistance fighters poured in, loyal Cernan guards turning on Lyra's inner circle. The Tehran envoys drew weapons, but Marcus was already moving, darting low, catching the Tehran leader off balance with a pulse blast. Vengeance for Earth, and every lost colony burning in his eyes. Lyra lunged at Nira, blade flashing. The sisters clashed in a storm of sparks and fury, Lyra's rage wild but unfocused. Nira parried, countered, never giving ground. "You never understood," she said, driving Lyra back, "that true power is shared." She caught Lyra's blade, twisted, and drove her own home. Lyra staggered, shock and fury etched on her face, then fell. The throne room fell silent as the Tehran leaders slumped, subdued by Marcus's calculated strike. Loyalists secured the chamber. Nira stood at the heart of it all, blood and hope mingling in the air. She turned to the gathered council, her voice carrying. "The old ways die here. Human settlements are now autonomous. Their people are partners, not subjects. Those who return to unity will find pardon and purpose." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some stared in disbelief. Others, including human servants and Cernan loyalists, straightened with hope. Marcus stepped forward, no longer a shadow at Nira's side, but her equal, his bearing confident, eyes meeting those of every counselor. The council, stunned, saw in him not just an advisor, but a force that had reshaped their world. The coronation was a blur of vows and stunned acceptance. Nira claimed the throne, her words echoing in the rebuilt hall. Marcus stood at her side, the lines of division erased by fire and resolve. Later, the palace quieted, the corridors echoing with tentative laughter and relief. Nira and Marcus found a rare moment alone in the royal solar, golden light slanting through stained glass. Marcus set aside the comlink, his eyes gentle. "I have a confession. While you fought for the throne, I was building connections, back to Earth, to the resistance, to the hidden enclaves. I didn't just want to win the war. I wanted to build peace." Nira smiled, her expression soft and fierce all at once. "What role do you want, now that you're free?" He moved closer, voice earnest. "One we invent together, as your advisor, your strategist, your equal, in everything." Her tail curled around his wrist, a touch more intimate than any embrace. You're proposing an alliance that would shock my ancestors. He grinned, resting his hand atop hers.
I'm proposing something new.
A partnership to reshape our world. She drew him in, her hand entwining his. Then let's make a world worth sharing. Their hands clasped, sealing not just a new order, but a new era. Two survivors, Cernan and Human, captain and strategist, united by choice, by hope, and by the promise that their alliance, both strategic and romantic, was only beginning. Nira's tail wrapped gently around Marcus's arm, a silent vow as they faced the uncertain dawn together.